Hi, this is Edward Troxel. In this tutorial, we're going to go through and look at automating another type of process. This one's a little bit different. And so let me show you the project that we're looking at, what we're trying to do, and then how we're going to start to see about automating this process. So here's the project. We actually have words on the timeline, and you will see that this bottom one here, when we open it up, you can see this is the full sentence. Let's walk through a narration lesson. And then above it, we have an event for let's. This one is through. This one would be walk. This little one here would be A. This big one here would be narration. And then this last one is lesson. And so basically what we want to do is the top line has the background turned on and is a single word, and then the bottom one is the full sentence, and what we want is for the word to be over the word on the bottom. So in this case, if we open a pan crop, we can scoot this word over until it sits directly on top of this other word. And then of course, to get it exact, we could lower the opacity and come back and look and make sure that we're in exactly the right spot. So we could scoot this over a little bit. Looks like I hit it pretty good to begin with. And then we'd have to go in and do the same thing for the next word. Let's lower that opacity a little bit, pull that one back up, and then we'll scoot walk over until it sits on top of walk. Looks like that's pretty good. And you would do the same thing for all of the rest of the words, and when you're done,
let's walk through a narration lesson.
Each word would appear over the other word, only it would be highlighted. The question is, how can we do that without manually having to adjust every pan crop on the timeline? And another question might be, where did these words come from? The person that sent me this actually sent me two files. One was the normal captions.srt, and it would have the full sentences in it and the time range that contains those full lines. Then he also included me a word-by-word SRT, and these are each individual word and the time that they're set on the timeline. Now, you might ask, how were these generated? These were all generated through Whisper. He has some routines that he uses to go through, and then these were simply imported into this Vegas timeline using the import SRTs. And then the formatting he added to turn on the background color for the top line. But now let's go through and see what we need to do to process these. So here's a little script that I've written to first figure out how big is each word. So I'm going through every track in my Vegas.project.tracks, and then if the track is video, because all of these text events have to be on a video track, then I'm going to go through each event, and if the event is selected and it is a generated media, then I'm going to get the video event for that event, get the effect for the active tape media generator, and then I'm going to check to see, is this effect, is this generated media the Vegas Creative Software titles and text? If it is, then I get the OFX effect, and the parameter that I'm going to get is a string parameter, just called it tparm, and we're going to get that from the OFX.findParameterByName, and we want the text. Now the text in these boxes are in rich text format, so now what I've done is I've created me a rich text box called RTF text, because if I just pull in the text into a string, I'm going to get all the RTF formatting listed in addition to the actual text that I want. So now I get the RTF text.rtf equals the tparm.value, and then the font, I'm saying the check font is the RTF text.font, And then a string, the check text, is going to be the rtf.text. Then I want to measure how big this is. So I get a system.drawing.size variable, which I called text size. And I get that from text renderer.measure text. Then I'm passing it the check text and the check font. And this will tell me how big that text is. And then I just want to see what that information is. So I'm going to get the original value that was sent from the text box. This tells me the text length of the text that I'm checking is this long, and then this will tell me the font family that I'm looking at and the font size that I'm looking at, and then this will send me the RTF that is actually in the variable that I created, the RTF text RTF, so that I can see what's different between this and this. So let's run this and see what it gives us. I'm going ahead and going to select, let's just select 3 items here. And that way it'll give us 3 pieces of information. So I'll go to, so this first piece, the word let's. Here's what it actually sent at the beginning, this RTF1, ANSI, and so forth and so on. And way down low, we finally get to let's, and then it comes on down, and then we tell it the text length of let's is 29, but it says our font family is Microsoft Sans Serif, and the font size is 8.5, and then if we look at the bottom section, that is what is actually in the variable that we had. So you notice the bottom is different. Up at the top it says our variable is Arial, and our font size, it says 20. And then on the next one, this is the text length for walk is also 29. It also says font family Microsoft Sans Serif at 8.5. And then the third one is the length of let's walk through a narration lesson is 179. Once again, it says the font family is Microsoft Sans Serif at 8.25. Now, if I open up any of these, we'll notice that the font here is listed as Arial, and it's size 10. So if I come down to this one, once again, the font is Arial, and it is size 10. So why is it giving us Microsoft Sans Serif at 8.5? That's the question. By default, the rich text box is Microsoft Sans Serif 8.5. And therefore, for me to get the actual font of the text that I'm looking at, I need to actually select part of the text. So let's make this quick change. Alright, now everything is the same. We're still finding the text. We're still creating the rich text box. We're still pulling the value into the RTF of the text box. Now what I want to do is change my selection start to the to the very beginning, 0. And then I change my selection length to a length of 1. So that'll handle any size word that's 1 or larger. The shortest word is going to be 1. So now I'm going to get my font for my check font is going to come from the RTF text.selection font. So what font is used in that part of the selection instead of at the end of the box? And then the check text is the same, and then this part will be exactly the same as well. Now let's run this again. Now it says the text length of let's is 40, and it says that our font family name equals Arial, and it's size 10. Text length of walk is 38 for the font family of Arial and size 10. And then the text length of let's walk through a narration lesson is 26, and the font family is Arial, and the size is 10. So we haven't actually managed to move anything yet, but we have discovered how big is each word, or how big is each sentence. And by using that information, we should be able to then move things to the proper position. Now, I'm going to throw in some variables in the next tutorial to help us fine-tune the settings, and then we're going to kind of make some assumptions, and so this is not going to work with every possibility that you've got out there, but it does work with this particular setup, and it does work quite well to my surprise. And so we'll continue this in the next tutorial, and so stay tuned and like and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next tutorial. Please sign up at www.JETDV.com and subscribe on YouTube to get further notifications on when new videos are presented.